I'm Bev Livingston, and about 10 years ago, Mist came to me in just a night vision that I needed to step up and be the chief advocate for other mothers who were going through the same thing I was going through with this mass incarceration situation that we're all kind of stuck in right now. And I basically took the idea to a gentleman who had started the Ad Hoc Group Against Crime in Kansas City, Mr. Alvin Brooks, and told him everyone who's involved in a lot of the violence and being a victim and going to jail, there's a family left behind and people and loved ones who are going to be affected by the incarceration. And just helping people understand the system, the hope, the determination that's needed to not be so beat down and become victims of a system that is unfair and discriminating and marginalizes us. So as I began to develop MIST, we came together as a brown bag Thursday meeting of the minds at a table that was just full of women, professional women, grandmothers, loved ones, children's mothers who were left to single-handedly take care of the family because the father or husband was gone away. And oftentimes, many of them had life sentences, some without parole, some with excessive sentences for things that really didn't warrant that kind of sentence and conviction, but that's all part of the broken system that we became women warriors and mother warriors. We didn't come together to have a pity party. We came together and strategized about lobbying, about how can we create prison reforms that will make a difference and not have our loved ones oppressed and warehoused and in a hopeless kind of situation. So the fight continues to see others' stories before they become our stories, as we as mothers find out we don't have the power that we thought we have when our children break the law or is accused of breaking the law, and the importance of the coming together and watching video documentaries such as what you're doing is teaching moments that can help us avoid the pipelines and pitfalls that await us, that separates our family and causes us to have that hopeless feeling when someone has to go away for an extended period of time. What kind of pain I felt as a mother when my only son was convicted of a homicide that I believe in his innocence, and it was not proven beyond a reasonable doubt, and he continues to do time, but we continue to fight, and we have post-conviction strategies and other kinds of things that will get my son's freedom back. And fortunately, I visit my son in prison and not at the cemetery, because there is hope as long as we have life. And that is the only thing that I am grateful for in terms of having that second chance with my son.
My name is Marcia Phillips. I have a son that is incarcerated. He is now in Licking. He has been incarcerated for over 25 years. He got life in 100 years. It's been extremely difficult, but the MIST organization has helped me a lot. For the first probably 5 or 10 years, I didn't know about MIST. But, just being able to gather with women of like minds has really and truly helped, because it is a hard situation. Because what I don't know whether the gentlemen incarcerated understand is when they're doing time, we're doing time. And it is just so much injustice in the legal system. He's been in Crossroads, he's been in Jefferson City, and now he's in Licking. So we're working on it, and I know, God's gonna figure out a way to get him out. A lot of prayer. Like I said, the MIST organization has truly helped, because with everything that's going on around us, people don't want to think about that unless they have someone that it truly that affects them with it. All they see is the bad news on TV and the things that they think is lock them up, lock them up. But they don't understand that they're still human beings, and even though they're incarcerated, they have rights, and the people there have rules and regulations that they should be following because there are problems, and eventually they want to get out.
Hi, my name is Kyra Storms, and I've been a part of MIST for probably about 5 years now. I was introduced to MIST by a family friend who had a son who was incarcerated and was a part of this organization, and said, I think you would be very impressed, and this is a group that could help you. My son is probably like so many other people, and yet somewhat different in that he was the high school student council president. He was the one that was most likely to succeed and would never have been expected to get in trouble. Raised not perfect like no one else, but had so much going for them that was something that you would never expect. But when he was arrested, when he did go to prison, I felt like, and the enemy was trying to tell me that he was going to take me out at the same time with my son. And that was one of the hardest things that I ever had to deal with. Learning how to deal with the judicial system and spending money for attorneys.
That was a really heartbreaking, difficult situation for me because the fence, the scrutiny, going through back then, they had a machine that would just kind of poof you, and they were looking for elements of drugs or other kind of things that would give them a reason not to let you in to visit. So just going through that process, I think, was really hard. The approval process of getting past that front area to the visitation area. It is certainly not the place that I would choose for anybody to end up based on bad choices or taking risk for something that could change your life forever. And my life and my son's life and our family, our lives have been changed forever. This was my second child to be in a situation where my child was taken away from me. My daughter I lost at age 23 because a drunk driver came through a red light and killed her instantly at the scene. She was a passenger in another car. So to go and see my son under the circumstances of him being incarcerated and I not having any power or any say other than, a final statement or something at his sentencing, I felt like the advocate in me felt like, and I told my son, this is not the end, this is the beginning. And when I said that, I meant we got a fight ahead of us, but I saw how you were railroaded and how this case went. And I'm going to do everything within my power to make sure that you have some sort of fair outcome. Don't know what the end is going to look like, but I'm going to be fighting all the way. I'm a 30-year cancer survivor, and I know that if you fight and if you put up resistance and if you stand up to situations that are unfair, you can expect something good to come from that. Now, if you just walk into doing something stupid and causing someone's life to be lost and it was intent there, then you get what you get. But in this case, we saw how my son's case was manufactured and railroaded, and it was a black-white thing, so I saw the racial attitude and the racism that kind of drove it in a different direction.
To go see my son. It's almost 1,000 miles away. So I don't get to see him, but maybe once a year. Get to talk to him on the phone. But when you see him in not just the orange uniform, but you hear the gates clanging when you go from room to room. And you see the barbed wire fences, and you realize this is the life that they live. You don't want your loved ones to have to live like that. You don't want them having to live in a situation where you never know from one day to the next, or you're going to get a phone call that maybe something has happened to your loved one. Earlier this year was in January. My son was assaulted, he was robbed, he was stabbed because he was doing some things to try to help some other people. Somebody trying to steal food, it's okay to take what you have and try to kill you over some canteen food. I'm trying to tell you, my son's life, just like your life, is worth more than that. So, I repeat, don't get caught up in the dumb stuff. Because as a mother, I'm tired of having to visit my son in prison. But yet, I am glad to be able to see him. And if it takes 16 hours to drive across country from Missouri to South Carolina to see him, I make that drive willingly.
Yes.
And tell the young black men and women here in Kansas City and all across America what it's like and how heartbreaking it is, and ask them, where do they want their mother to visit them if they're running with the wrong crowd?
I can truly say it is more than a notion. When you go to the facility, they make it extremely difficult for you. When those doors start slamming, it chills you from the top of your head to the soles of your feet. It's like nothing you've ever felt before. So the bottom line is, like the old people used to say, don't get in the system, because if you get in the system, it's hard to get out.
We held up the banner for truisms. The truisms is that regardless of whatever the policy and procedure indicated, we still had to find what the truth of the situation was. I was a supervisor for a long time in maximum security and administrative segregation, and I had to deal with a lot of people that were constantly locked down, and they only had 1 hour out, 24 hours a day. So the thing is that a lot of times, a lot of people get into problems inside the institution is because of anger. And because of their anger, nobody wants to listen to them to solve the problem. As Margot was indicating, we were problem solvers. Not only do we solve the problems for the inmates, but we also had to solve the problem for the staff who create problems with the inmates. Yeah. They're both antagonists. It's at a constant war. If you want to keep your jail flowing correctly and you want to keep everything in balance and in sync, you have to talk to the people. One thing that my captain did not understand when he gave me mental health inmates is how the floor stayed quiet. They did not pull the sprinkler heads. They did not spread feces. They did not throw urine on people. He said, "What is your secret?" I said, "Would you believe it's something so simple you wouldn't believe?" I simply tell them hi. I said, you have to connect with people and make them feel that they are a part of your world like you're part of their world. And the thing is that when people get filtrated to the system, they become a person of lost identity. And normally nobody knows who they are. and nobody really cares who they are.
My name is Jeff Humfeld. I'm executive producer of Jaws of Justice Radio on KKFI. The one thing I will say about MIST that's a little bit different is that they share emotionally in a way that a lot of the other groups don't. A lot of the other groups are very focused on legislation and lobbying and advocating within the prisons, but MIST, their members take time to stop and support a member that's really having difficulty. And you know, some of the mothers and the even the fathers that will come at times, you know, are very emotional, and there's something that has changed in their loved one's condition or the way they're being treated, and they just need support, you know, and that's where I see MIST being a little bit different than the others.
Explain to the young black men and women that are going down the wrong road what they're actually possibly letting themselves in for if they get involved in the justice system or the oppressive justice system.
Well, I think the first thing I'd say is that, you know, it doesn't have to be inevitable, but even if you do the right things, sometimes it's going to happen anyway. And you need to be prepared for that, because this system is a racist system. And, you know, that's why, you know, for me, I approach this as a human rights issue. Because there's a lot of white people that are caught in the system as well, but let's face it, this is a racist system. It is one that will fall much more heavily on people of color. There's no doubt about it. And, you know, if you are not educated, if you are not paying attention, you know, you're just out to have a good time, you're likely to end up doing the same things that other people do, and you're going to pay for it when a lot of other people don't. So that's unfair, but it is what it is. The thing I will say is that it is not a place that you want to be in. And once they do get their hooks into you, they don't let go easily. You can be sent to prison for something you didn't do. That happens across the board. And it happens much more than people think it does. The thing I would say is, you know, if you got to go to trial, make them take you to trial. Don't plead out. As many people as possible need to make them take you to trial.
Then as I sat on this panel, toward the end, I looked out into the audience and why your organization is so important. There's a disproportionate number of sisters to black men here. Where are our men? They're incarcerated, and too many of them are dying early. So it's important at this crossroad of history that everybody get on the battlefield. We are at war.
Be it property or sales or income taxes, we are paying into a system that time and time again is robbing us of equal justice under the law. So when we say that you have mothers of incarcerated sons and daughters, that we're missing them, we're missing a part of a community and part of us that in and of itself we're funding. And when we look at indentured servitude and certainly the historical implications of Missouri and Kansas, at the same time we understand that we're all in the same thing, no matter how you slice it, no matter what our roots may have been from how we came into this union. When you look at our prison populations right now, you notice that the criminal justice system especially is funded and underfunded by equity. We pay in and we do not have that balance that we see people who are historically poor or historically what is a so-called minority status who are disproportionately representing us. So I want to thank you, and I thank you for the issues that were raised.
On Monday, I was at Walgreens down there on Linwood and Prospect. There was a 7-year-old baby, who was in custody at 9 o'clock at night in his underwear because he was in Walgreens. He had stolen, allegedly, a Lunchable and a drink. No electronics, no headphones, nothing to play with. A Lunchable and a drink. 7 years old, in custody. That baby was hungry. It's going to take us, adults, to be hungry for change, hungry for difference. We gotta take this shit. I'm hungry, and I'm ready to be that voice and that food and that advocate that we're all looking for.
When you see something wrong, you better speak up or you're part of it. When you see that red car drive down the street that ain't been up and down your street and it's slowing down, and you just sit there and know, you might as well just go down there and turn yourself into, because you're a part of what's going on in our community.
That's good. Amen. That's good.
I'm gonna sit down on this one, put up or shut up.
The baby one too hype. This thing is small. Baby one hype.
You got a big head.
I'm scared.
Don't be afraid.
You gonna take a picture of me?
God always got you.
No, never. Not on that horse.
Somewhere doing something to bring in that quick money, and you accept that money to help make ends meet or keep the power on or the gas on or food on the table, you are encouraging that behavior that's going to land your child in the cemetery or in prison. So I would like to tell a mother who is concerned about their child going down the wrong path, if you can't do it yourself, if you don't have the ability, or if you don't have the respect of your child to tell them they need to cease what they're doing and do something different, then you need to call on somebody that can. Whether that's a mentor that's been just standing in the gap waiting for that phone call, or whether that's someone in authority. Get a grip on your child before you lose the opportunity to save him or her. Our children don't realize the danger they're walking in when they are disrespectful, threatening, standing up to elders and people. They don't know what those people are going to do to them, but they take those chances. I hear young people talking so bad sometimes I have to turn around and look, because I can't believe the things that come from their mouths. It's so toxic and harmful.
I don't really remember exactly when I found out that he was incarcerated, but it's actually pretty hard to see that other people are one of the fathers and people in their life that is having two parents, and it's kind of not frustrating, but kind of upsetting that he's in jail, because I wouldn't do anything to lead towards being in a situation like that, nor do I want to, and it just gives me a good example to not do that. But some people want to have that knowledge or that mindset to not do it. They might try to follow their parent or someone who they know is incarcerated for.
I am a retired lieutenant at the Jackson County Jail here in Kansas City, Missouri. I did 30 years at the jail. I'm very optimistic. I worked with the inmates. I taught them how to be respectful. I was respectful to them. I have a brother and a nephew that both grew up in a low-income environment. Our parents were very strict on us, but due to the environment and the people that lived in the environment, they went along with them. My nephew is doing 30 years. He's only 29 on a robbery charge in St. Louis from Missouri, in Missouri. I have a brother that is doing double life sentence in California. Both of my nephew and my brother, I keep them uplifted. I know everything about the jails, the prisons, what they go through. I call the warden, I call the nurses, I call visitation. I know everything that's supposed to be done that involves me and that involves them. I communicate with them through emails. They have tablets. Through emails, I send them videos on their tablets. I send them pictures on their tablets. I'm the only one they have. My brother has 5 other sisters and brothers. Mom's gone. My nephew has 8 brothers and sisters and a mother and a stepfather. Nobody puts any money on their books. I'm the only one that put anything on the books. I say, fellas, you're gonna have to budget this money. I'm teaching them how to live in the prison. You need to eat that food that they have. Do not pass up a tray, because you never know when I'm not gonna have the money to send you for your cheese and crackers and cookies and coffee. You gotta budget everything that you have. Nobody's gonna give you anything in there. And I want you to be respectful to everybody in there. Every officer, I don't care if they treat you badly, I want you to be respectful to them. Because there's a way, there's always a way for us to handle problems. They handle problems for them.
Your son was at Crossroads. There was a rebellion there. Would you give his side of the story very briefly?
Well, we really didn't talk about it very much, and he wasn't like in the area or at the scene of the activity. But he was one of the first to be shipped out of Crossroads after the incident.
And why do you feel, or why does he feel that he was shipped out?
Well, I've heard firsthand that he was shipped out because of his leadership in the NAACP chapter there. He also was someone who had support. I think their awareness of me being his mother and being a part of an advocacy support group, they just tried to move out a lot of the inmates that may have support systems that would kind of rise up against what the institution had going on.
What, and he's located, how much further is it now for you to go visit than when he was at Crossroads?
He's about 290 miles farther than the 45-minute drive I used to have. I think the lockdown was pretty insensitive for the men who have chronic conditions and needed medication. The nutrition was in question because sack lunches over, I don't know, I think it was like 2 months or 3 months of just having poor diet, no meds, or very limited meds, no access to commissary to get things that you need, and just the oppressive atmosphere and conditions were, I think, as many other things in the correctional system, excessive. I think it was excessively not handled because of management and staffing issues that the DOC had. So they really weren't hearing the inmates and the inmates' support systems until we turned up on things such as the peaceful protests, the meeting with the DOC director, and some other things. Because each facility has a warden, but there's a director who oversees each institution.
The rebellion or whatever really started as a peaceful demonstration. Basically, the warden there, Rhonda Pash, had been cutting out programs for the inmates. They had been cutting the amount of time for recreation, restricting the amount of time that they had in the library, which was very important for guys because that's where they go to work on their cases and try and prove their innocence or, their appeal. The prisoners basically sat down after dinner and said, we ain't leaving until we get a chance to talk to the warden and we start to resolve some of these issues. It's really what happened after that has been the biggest concern for me and the members of MIST, which is the way that the prisoners were treated. They were locked down for, over 115 days or something or other, or more now. Some areas are still locked down. They get out of their cells for 30 minutes or whatever, maybe a couple times a day, and that's it. The honor dorm supposedly has come back to normal, what's known as normal operations. We keep hearing that the lockdown is the new normal.
What about meals?
At the prison? All of this time, from May down through July into August, these guys were being fed boxed meals, bologna on bread, and maybe a piece of fruit or something, and chips or crackers or something of this sort. A diet that was very, very detrimental, especially to those who had chronic diseases like diabetes and things of that sort. And they moved those prisoners to other prisons. Those were the people that were the troublemakers, supposedly. Yet everybody else who were in their cells when this happened, that had nothing to do with this, are the ones that have been locked down and been treated in this way. Let's face it, this is a racist system. It is one that will fall much more heavily on people of color. There's no doubt about it.
But I want us today to wrap up, leaving you with some things that you can go home and do to help make a difference in our electoral process, in our actions for what's happening in the streets and in our families and the violence, and anything and everything that we can do as active citizens in the communities in which we live. We've got both ends of the state represented. We got Kansas represented here today, and we all have to join forces. I know we get accused of just talk, but MIST is involved in public policy, activism, helping to give people therapeutic approaches to dealing with this journey of incarceration. So if you're out there struggling, you're shamed, you can't talk to your church people, you can't talk to your family, out of sight, out of mind, you want to reach back and get your loved one that's incarcerated and forgotten, come to MIST and learn how to deal with the issues that are related to incarceration.
Gave birth to you and worked so many long hard hours just to take care of you. And I'm the mother that went hungry when there wasn't food for me and you. And I'm the mother that sacrificed everything for you. Beautiful sons and daughters, tell me where do you want me to visit you? I know you're on the wrong road when you wouldn't do the things you were told. You failed in school, and you know why. It's because you didn't even try. Beautiful sons and daughters, tell me, where do you want me to visit you? Night and day I pray that you'll find your way. Life is what you make it. Now it's your time to not be a loser. Don't let your life pass you by, and just ask yourself why.